All right, so we're diving deep today into a story pretty much everyone knows, but maybe not as deeply as they think.
Yeah, and we've got this fascinating source for it, a YouTube video with like a super in-depth plot summary of Pinocchio.
And get this, it's in Hindi and Urdu.
Yeah, pretty cool, huh? Gives us a really unique perspective on a classic tale.
Totally, and that's kind of the mission today, right? To peel back the layers of this story and see what's really going on.
Exactly. We want to go beyond the Disney version,
Hmm.
and dig into the original nuances.
So let's start at the beginning with, well, a pretty lonely scene.
Yeah, we've got this Italian carpenter. He's struggling to make ends meet, and he gets this idea.
To carve a puppet,
Right, but not just any puppet. Like, he's thinking this could be a way to earn some money.
like a traveling performer sort of thing.
Yeah, exactly.
So he starts carving, and something pretty crazy happens.
He hears a heartbeat.
Yeah, out of the wood. Like,
Can you imagine that?
it's this totally unexpected magical moment, and of course he names the puppet Pinocchio.
And immediately he feels this connection, like Pinocchio's his son. And Pinocchio calls him Papa right away. So you see this instant father-son bond forming.
Which is super important because it sets the stage for like all the drama that's about to unfold.
For sure. And right away we see Pinocchio's got a mind of his own.
Like the second he can walk, he takes off running away from the carpenter.
That first act of disobedience, it's like a sign of things to come.
And he runs into trouble almost instantly.
Chased by dogs, burns his feet by the fire. It's a rough start.
But the carpenter's reaction is so telling. Even though Pinocchio ran away, he still makes him new feet.
It's pure unconditional love right there.
Absolutely. And then he goes even further. He sells his own coat.
To buy Pinocchio a notebook for school
Yeah, showing that he really wants Pinocchio to have a better life than he's had.
makes you think about what kind of hopes and dreams he has for this little wooden boy.
So Pinocchio is supposed to be going to school, right? But on the way, he gets sidetracked.
By a puppet show.
Of course, classic Pinocchio.
But this moment, it reveals a lot about him, his impulsiveness.
He's easily distracted.
Yeah, and he's not thinking about the consequences of his actions at all.
And to get into the show, he sells the notebook the carpenter just bought him.
Talk about adding insult to injury.
Right. It's like he doesn't even appreciate the sacrifice the carpenter made for him.
And the other puppets in the show, it's interesting how they react to Pinocchio.
They recognize him as one of their own,
Yeah.
but they're also confused because he doesn't have any strings.
He's like an anomaly, even in the puppet world.
And things go from bad to worse when the puppet show owner catches him.
Meanwhile, the carpenter's frantically searching for Pinocchio.
It's like every parent's worst nightmare, right?
Totally. And eventually the carpenter finds out what happened to the notebook.
From the shop owner who bought it.
Yeah, and that's how he knows Pinocchio went to the puppet show.
It's heartbreaking.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he's just trying to do the best for his son, and Pinocchio keeps messing up.
And now Pinocchio's in real danger. The puppet show owner decides to use him for firewood.
Wait, what?
Yeah, he needs to light a fire, and Pinocchio's made of wood, so...
That's messed up.
It shows how vulnerable Pinocchio is in this world.
But then Pinocchio does something really unexpected.
He offers to be burned in place of the other puppets.
Wow, that's selfless.
It's a huge turning point for him. It shows he's starting to develop empathy.
And the puppet show owner is so moved by this act of kindness.
That he lets Pinocchio go and even gives him 5 gold coins.
What a twist.
Right, like you don't see that coming.
So Pinocchio's free, and he's got money. But of course, this is where the trouble really starts.
So the fox and the cat.
The classic con artists.
They hear about Pinocchio's gold and they cook up this elaborate scheme.
They convince him that if he buries his coins in a special field, a money tree will grow.
It's the oldest trick in the book, preying on his naivete and his desire for quick riches.
And they take him to this inn on the way to the field,
Where they pretend to be his friends.
and then they ditch him, leaving him with the bill, and they steal his coins.
It's a brutal betrayal.
Pinocchio tries to get justice, but he goes to a judge who's just as corrupt as the fox and the cat.
And the judge punishes Pinocchio even though he's the victim.
Talk about a broken system.
To escape punishment, Pinocchio lies and says he was the thief.
So ironic.
It is, and it actually works. He's set free, but then he hears some devastating news.
The carpenter went out to sea searching for him and hasn't been seen since.
Heartbroken Pinocchio sets out on his own sea voyage to find his father.
This little wooden puppet facing the vast ocean, it's pretty brave.
And it shows how much he cares about the carpenter now.
Luckily, he's rescued by a fairy who takes him to her palace.
This is where things start to change for Pinocchio.
The fairy wants to help him become a better person.
But when she questions him about his actions, his nose starts growing longer with each lie.
It's a classic image, right? The physical manifestation of dishonesty,
The fairy shows him mercy, though, and has woodpeckers peck his nose back to normal.
giving him another chance.
But Pinocchio doesn't learn his lesson right away.
He runs into the fox and the cat again and doesn't even recognize them.
They had disguised themselves before.
And they trick him again with the same money tree scam.
It's like he's destined to repeat his mistakes.
Eventually, though, he reunites with the fairy.
And he tells her his deepest desire to become a real boy.
The fairy gives him a challenge to prove he's worthy.
She says he has to go to school and be good.
And for a while, it seems like he's turning things around.
He makes a friend. He's doing well in school. There's hope.
But then temptation strikes again.
Huh.
His friend tells him about this amazing place called the Land of Toys.
Where there are no rules and you can have fun all day long.
And Pinocchio can't resist. He breaks his promise to the fairy and goes to the Land of Toys.
But it's not the paradise he thought it would be.
What happens?
Pinocchio and his friends start turning into donkeys.
What?
It's a pretty dark consequence of their laziness and lack of purpose.
And they get sold to a circus.
Reduced to performing tricks.
That's awful.
It is. And one day while he's performing, Pinocchio sees the fairy in the audience.
I bet he was mortified,
He's so shocked that he falls and injures himself.
making him even less valuable to the circus owner.
Who decides to drown him and use his skin for a drum?
That's brutal.
But the fairy intervenes again. She sends fish to eat away the donkey hide underwater.
Turning Pinocchio back into a puppet.
And then he gets swallowed by a giant fish.
You mean a whale?
Yeah, a whale. And guess who he finds inside?
Not the carpenter.
Yep, the carpenter's alive and well inside the whale.
What are the chances?
They even meet a tuna fish who helps them escape.
The story is wild.
They wait till the whale falls asleep and then swim out of its mouth with the tuna leading the way.
So they make it back to shore. And now it's Pinocchio's turn to take care of the carpenter.
Exactly. The carpenter's weak from his ordeal, so Pinocchio steps up.
He works for a farmer to earn money, and he even keeps studying.
He's showing real responsibility now.
And you won't believe this, but the fox and the cat try to scam him one more time.
I know, they never give up.
But this time Pinocchio's too smart for them. He sees through their trickery.
He's finally learned from his mistakes.
And the fairy sees how much he's changed.
She recognizes his growth, his empathy, his newfound sense of responsibility.
And she grants his wish. He becomes a real boy.
Imagine the joy of that moment after all he's been through.
And he gets to share with the carpenter. It's a beautiful ending.
It really is. It shows the power of perseverance and the potential for redemption.
So Pinocchio's journey is a story about temptation and consequence, about learning and growing, and ultimately about the possibility of change.
And it raises some big questions like, what does it really mean to be real?
Pinocchio's transformation isn't just about becoming human, it's about developing the qualities that make us human.
Like empathy, honesty, responsibility, the ability to love and sacrifice for others.
So think about the different stages of Pinocchio's journey. The impulsive puppet, the misled donkey, the hardworking helper.
What do those stages represent to you? What do they say about the process of becoming truly real?
Something to ponder, isn't it?
Definitely.
All right, well, that's our deep dive into Pinocchio.
Thanks for joining us.
Until next time.